Hey, what's up guys, it's FreezYT here, and today we're going to be talking about my top 5 tips for starting out in the Warzone. These are more meant for beginners, meaning players who are new to Warzone or maybe just battle royales in general. But basically, I'm going to tell you about some of the things that I've learned over the past week or so that I think every Warzone player should know in order to survive, get to the late game, and even give yourself a chance to win. Starting out with tip number 1, which is to use the buy carts. This is a new system that is not in all the other battle royale games. Usually you just have to loot for guns and armor and grenades and stuff like that, but in the Warzone you also loot and receive money, which can be used to buy some of the most crucial items in the game. So taking a quick look at the buy station menu here, I just want to make sure you guys are familiarized with some of the basics and so you know what to buy when you need it. The first thing is the armor plate bundle. This gives you 5 armor plates and is $1,500. I think this is probably the most commonly bought thing in the game, obviously because it's the cheapest, but also because armor is so important. Then you have the shield turret for $2,000. I think these are practically useless. The only use case I can see for them is putting them down so you can maybe take out a helicopter or a vehicle, but you're really kind of a sitting bitch with these. Also, they're really hard to put down. You can't put them in any windows or any really good positions at all. They really baby you with this thing, so I wouldn't recommend buying that. Next, you have the cluster strike at $3,000. This can be kind of useful, but I think there are definitely better things to buy. I'd rather just save my money than buy one of these unless I only had $3,000 and just needed to buy something and I didn't already have a gas mask, which is the next thing on the list for $3,000. It just lets you evade the gas for a little bit. They do break eventually, but these can definitely be very useful, and I've seen people use them to just stay in the storm a little bit longer and come in later. That's always a good strategy. Next thing on the list is the precision airstrike at $3,500. Just another kill streak similar to the cluster strike. You put it down in an area and it takes out people with a precision airstrike. Now, just to let you know, both of these, the cluster strike and the precision airstrikes, alert the enemies when you put it in their area. So if they have cover, they're just going to get inside. These are useful for, open fields or places where you know that they can't really get away, or you just force them to move. They can be useful, but I don't really recommend buying them. The one kill streak you do want to buy a lot is a UAV, obviously, so you can see the enemy position. Now, if they have Ghost and they got the loadout crate and they have Ghost in their loadout, they will be able to evade these UAVs, but it's still very useful to have these because a lot of people don't rock Ghost, surprisingly. Next, you have the self-revive kit for $4,500. This is pretty self-explanatory and definitely very useful for solos. Now, if you have the extra cash in squads, it's definitely useful to have these because it can definitely keep you in the game, but there's definitely more important things to buy unless you're just swimming in money. Next, you have the munitions box. I've actually never bought this. There have been times where I've thought about buying it because I was pretty low on ammo, but what I do really recommend you buying is the loadout drop marker. Now, these loadouts drop randomly throughout the map, but being able to buy your own and keep it safe is definitely very useful. Usually when I'm in a game, the first thing I worry about is getting armor, and then the second thing I worry about is getting my own loadout so I can get the best weapons. We're going to talk more about loadouts in one of the later tips. Also, for the last thing, as you can see at the top, you can redeploy your squad mates. That's if they are already dead and they've gone through the gulag. This is obviously very useful. It costs $4,500 and it's definitely worth it to get your teammate back. But that's only in squad modes, so you don't have to worry about that in solos. So because of this buy system, it is essential to make sure that when you're looting that you keep an eye on your money supply and remember what things you are able to buy so you can get in, buy your shit, and get out quickly, because people will be going to these cart things. Everybody can use them and they're definitely a hotspot for action. Tip number 2, armor is key. Always be full armor if possible, and always try to have the full 5 spare armor plates. This is fairly obvious, but if you have no armor, you stand absolutely no chance, no matter how good you are, no matter how good your guns are. With that being said, if you get shot at and you have time to put on armor before engaging, absolutely do so. Otherwise, you're gonna get beat. You can actually put on armor while you're running or just moving around, which is good because if you're sitting still putting on armor, someone can easily stun or nade you. It's also a good idea to hold the armor button if you need to put on multiple plates. Armor is the cheapest thing you can buy at $1,500, so take advantage of that as well and buy an armor bundle if you can afford it. Tip number 3 is to pick up everything. Obviously, first priority when you land is to get a gun and then armor so you can survive the first engagements, but on your way to everything, you should be grabbing anything available to you. Grab all types of ammo, shotgun ammo, AR ammo, SMG ammo, rockets. All you have to do is run over to pick it up. Grab any lethal or tactical grenade you see bounty if you don't already have one, as any of them could be useful early on. I see people leaving grenades that end up dying when they could have picked them up and used them maybe to stay alive. Same with field upgrades or kill streaks. I've seen people leaving things like trophy systems, deployable covers, or shield turrets when those things can be useful very early on. It just depends on the situation, but really you should be picking these things up if you don't already have them. Another thing you should always think about picking up are the yellow side objectives, which there are 3: the recons, the scavengers, and the bounties. In recons, your objective is to gather intel by securing a location, and in return you get money and loot. However, when securing the intel, a small flare goes up giving away your position, so people will know you're in the building you're in, or if the recon is outside, that you're around that area. In scavengers, you have to collect 3 different loot crates in a specific order, with the third one giving you some extra loot. After you collect all 3 crates, you get some extra money as well. And the last side objective is the bounties, which randomly select a player for you to kill, and after you kill them you receive a bunch of money. Their approximate location is shown on the map for you with a little yellow circle and crosshair, but they will know when you're close by. It'll show what threat level they have, and basically the closer you get, the higher that threat level gets, so they will know you're nearby. They just don't know exactly where you are. I don't really like recons because sometimes they're pretty far away, but if it's the only thing around to pick up, you can just grab it and see where the secure point is and decide whether or not you think it's safe to go there. I like these scavengers a lot. I recommend grabbing these all the time unless you already have a good loot setup, or if there's just people around and you don't think you can get to all these loot crates safely. As for the bounties, I recommend that you grab these often. You don't have to go after the bounty or even really try to kill them, because there's also a chance that someone can steal or poach your bounty, in which case you'll still get some money. You won't get the full amount, and you get that money for basically not doing anything, just having the bounty. Regardless, you should absolutely grab any of these side missions almost all the time, and remember, like I said, to just pick up everything that you see, provided that you don't already have grenades or you don't already have full ammo, stuff like that. Just it's important that you grab everything that's available to you, because you never know when you might need it. Tip number 4 involves the loadout crates. These loadout crates are crates that allow you to use loadouts / creative classes in the Warzone. These do drop randomly throughout the map. You can also buy them at the buy stations for $8,500, making them the most expensive item in the game. These loadout crates are essential because they let you choose your favorite gun and they allow you to get in-game perks. My recommendation for a weapon is that you try to get some sort of suppressed weapon that you're comfortable with. My go-to is usually the M4A1, but I have a sniper class with the HDR and an SMG class with this MP5 as well. I also have carbon copies of these classes where I substitute one attachment for the gun perk fully loaded, so that way I can get ammo if I need it. As for the perks you use, I recommend that you use the perks that allow you to counter the most things in the war zone. So the first perk I always use is cold-blooded, and this keeps me off thermal scopes, away from recon drones, and is very useful for all those types of things. The second perk I always use is ghost. This allows you to stay off enemy UAVs, which are pretty common, more common than you think, even though they are $4,000. But this is just what I prefer to use. You could go with overkill so you can have 2 guns. That wouldn't be the worst thing in the world, but like I said, you'd be able to be spotted on those UAVs, which I do not want personally. The next perk I usually rock is amped. The third perk slot I'd say is the perk slot most up for debate. I think you could really use anything and be fine with it. I just like amped because I usually rock 2 weapons and I want to be able to swap them pretty quickly. As for grenades and stuff like that, you can use whatever you want. I prefer Semtexes. I've seen a lot of people use C4s, and then smoke grenades I think are crucial to getting good positioning and can be very useful. I also recommend stun grenades as well. I'll probably make a video on my class setups later, but it's important that you use the gun that you're most comfortable with, and then I think it's really important to rock those first 2 perks and then whatever you want for the third perk. Final tip number 5 is to use vehicles. If you've watched any sort of streamer or YouTuber lately, you can tell that vehicles are huge in the meta. There are 5 vehicles: the ATV, the tactical rover, SUV, the cargo truck, and the helicopter. I recommend you use these and get familiar with them for various reasons. You can run over people, which is a pretty easy way to get kills. You can get yourself to the next circle, obviously, before the gas comes. Cars and helicopters are much faster than your feet. Or you can get aggressive with them, and you can hop out of them while they're moving and take absolutely no damage. So you can just run up on people, hop out of the car, and just take people out. As long as vehicles stay the way they are and don't get nerfed or removed, I think you should learn to use them and deal with them. Any sort of explosives you can attain can be useful in dealing with them. So many people will start to figure that out, and maybe they'll become less useful, but until that starts happening, I recommend trying them all out, getting used to them, knowing how to work them, because they're pretty important. Well, I hope you guys learned something from this and or enjoyed the video. If you did, remember to hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe for more Warzone content. Also follow my Twitch channel if you want to see me play live, and I'll catch you guys later.